Welcome into the Door Report. It is episode 122. It is November 5th, 2021. We are powered by Laco Finewood Floors. And Will, we've got a jam-packed episode. It may not be the longest episode, but we've got an interview with Noah Shelby and Lee Dort, a pair of four-stars in the Vandy 2022 recruiting class coming up. We've got Grayson Morgan commit today. On a Friday. So Friday is getting started off hot. Dansby Swanson and Kyle Wright are world champs. So, Will, we've got a lot of success to talk about and a lot of future is bright type of thing. So it should be a good vibe podcast.
Yeah, should be. Outside of the things that are the absolute opposite of that. Yeah. Other than that and the decommits and the Marcus Bradley transfer we're going to get into. Other than that, this is all a super positive episode, Billy. So I like that spin in the intro.
Got to spin it positively somehow. Yeah. But we do. Dansby Swanson and Kyle Wright are world champs. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Marcus Bradley, we've got some interesting quotes. Will was able to reach out to him and Marcus provided him with some interesting quotes about his decommitment. And, of course, we had another decommitment to talk about. So we go negative and then we go positive there towards the end. So we'll go ahead and hop right into it. Before we get to the breaking news, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at @door_report and Instagram, door.report. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our podcast is available on Anchor, iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. And while you're at it, give our podcast 5 stars and a review on iTunes. All right, let's get to the breaking news. All right, Will, we got a couple happy birthdays to wish here right off the bat. Coach Stackhouse, it is his birthday today, and Coach A.J. Blazik, Vanderbilt's offensive line coach. So I feel like this is a season where we get a ton of birthdays. I don't know what it is. Mine was in
Chris
October,
Pierce was what, yesterday or a couple days ago as well?
We had Chris
belated
Pierce.
Birthday to Chris Pierce as well.
Yes, can't disrespect Chris Pierce there. Hopefully he's able to kind of get back on track against Kentucky next week. But Stackhouse and Blazik and Chris Pierce, happy birthday to those guys. But Will, we've got a commitment to talk about, and this comes at a good time because we've had about 3 decommits here before this one. And credit to Coach Lea and Barton Simmons and this staff for grabbing Grayson Morgan, the 3-star offensive tackle at a Montgomery Bell Academy here in Nashville. He's a top 30 player in the state. He chose Vandy over Kentucky, Mississippi State, and even Minnesota came in there late with PJ Fleck. Well, he obviously has to put a few pounds on. He's 6'5", 270, so he's got the build and the mold of an athletic offensive lineman. He's a very mobile athlete. He's going to be able to pull and impact the run game, which I don't think we've seen a ton of pulling this season from the O-linemen. I'm sure that's something Coach Blazik and that staff wants to be able to do. But Will, at Door Jam, I was able to talk to Coach Blazik, and we were able to talk to some of the other coaches there. And he was talking to me about how Grayson was one of their key prospects and how, they were doing all they could to try to lock him down. So they ended up succeeding in that. So congrats to them. And of course, it's a huge commitment. The NBA pipeline runs deep there with Clark Lea, of course, graduating there, Barton Simmons, and they're almost making it look easy from NBA. I guess now is the thought of Marcel Reed. Now that's 2023, but if they could be able to lock him up and maybe start that NBA train rolling, that you could see a lot of good things happening, not only at NBA, but inside the mid-state. So, and speaking of the mid-state, Will, Grayson Morgan and Langston Patterson are the only 2 in-state commits right now. So I think that's a goal of this staff to try to lock down that mid-state. But nonetheless, man, Grayson Morgan is a very big-time get.
Yeah, 6'5", 270. I mean, that dude is a physical beast. It's things that Clark Lea had talked about, and you heard Barton Simmons talk about when we had him on here a couple times, and especially after he had actually gotten the news and he wasn't hiding the news from us when he'd come on. They talked about what they were looking for in their recruit prospects. And obviously Grayson Morgan, a 3-star coming out of NBA, Clark Lea and Barton Simmons, like you mentioned. I don't know if you saw it.
The picture was just electric.
That picture. Clark Lea was a unit in high school, man. Oh my God, that dude was a unit. He was not missing any reps. He did every single rep that those NBA coaches told him to.
I didn't even know that was Barton Simmons to his right at first. I had to zoom in kind of. I knew.
Once I realized Barton has aged well. Yes. We will say that. The hair game is much stronger now.
The hair game has improved for both of them.
Hair game on both sides. I think Clark is much better served with the bald look there. It's a much better look, Clark. smart.
Barton Simmons' Twitter is the best. I mean, it's so subtle to tweet that picture out as he knew Grayson Morgan was going to commit. Of course, they both played at NBA and NBA, they're going to lock down NBA. Of course they get Grayson Morgan now, but that's a school that you would think Vanderbilt would be able to pick and choose, the guys out of that school. But yeah, that picture is something else to think about. But Will, this is something where you talk about the momentum, and we'll get into some of the decommits here, but what do you think this does for some of that momentum? And to have Grayson Morgan, despite the loss to ETSU, despite some of the decommitments, I think that says something. I really do. I think that says something about some of the confidence that these players have in Coach Lea and the staff. There's still a lot of work to do. I'll say that, but I think this is a positive step in the right direction.
I mean, it's definitely not a step in the wrong direction.
No.
Getting an offensive lineman that looks to be a highly sought-after guy that it offers and was highly recruited by Kentucky, Maryland, App State, Kentucky and Maryland in particular, too, especially Kentucky was in there. Those are some pretty strong programs, and Vanderbilt won out despite the negative momentum that is coming out. And it's got you thinking just a little bit, and we'll get into this when we go into the decommits, but if Clark Lea and the staff are able to even maintain a top 60 recruiting class this year with the transfer out of Marcus Bradley, the 3 decommits from those corners or defensive backs in there that we'll touch on later, it's going to be a pretty impressive feat. And I know that's a moral victory, that's spinning it pretty positive, but there's been a lot of bad this year, and there were a lot of guys that are pretty committed. And I do want to read one thing before we jump to the next, which is a tweet from Gumbo Gaskins.
Yes.
A 3-star corner defensive back recruit. Incredible name. He tweeted, end quote, "You can get there from here at VU Commodores. I believe that saying. I want to play early and be developed. I want to play at the highest level, and I want to influence change. If you agree, let's be the catalyst and get it diamonds out the mud." So that right there, he's obviously not going to decommit based on that tweet. But I
wouldn't think so.
Just players recruiting players and building that momentum at a program that hasn't had success in the field, new coaching staff, a lot of new faces are going to be playing next season. So players recruiting players, that's going to be something to watch and just see how bought in these guys are for that class of 2022. And I'm sure we'll be discussing this class quite a bit in the offseason and even later on in this pod.
We no doubt will. And Will, as always, we talk about kind of the momentum right now. I'm not going to say this swung the pendulum totally in the positive direction, but it's a small step back to that relevance. And right now, you talked about the rankings. I think they're 44th in the nation, according to 24/7, last in the SEC at 14th. So, and they're not looking at, rankings. Of course, they want to improve in that regard. But boy, it's going to be interesting to see, especially,
recorded also, Billy, the one we kind of skipped over. Have we recorded since Davion Walker committed as well? That was a huge commit as well. He's a top 900 nationally ranked player.
That was another classic Barton Simmons diamond out of the mud and diamond in the rough type of commit where, you see that guy commit and you start thinking about watching some of the film and you're like, wow, this guy
verified. The first thing that jumped out, he's a 3-star. He's one of the higher rated guys. He's a higher 3-star, but it says on his verified results on 24/7, the first thing I saw, a verified 4.61 laser time 40. So right there, that is speed in high school. People have this very weird idea of what they run a 40-yard dash in. And this is one of my big soapboxes that I could talk about forever, is the average person sees the numbers that they put up in the combine and I could probably run a 5.2. If you took a laser time 40, the average 28-year-old male, not large, just the average median male would run over a 6 easy.
Yeah.
So and that improves. So a 4.61 laser time is very
impressive.
different. What your high school coach told you ran when you were in high school is not what you ran.
No.
A hand timed, it's about 0.3, 0.2 faster on that hand time. So I always look at that and which of these results have been verified on 24/7. So that was an interesting thing to watch. And then you watch his highlight tape. And
he's got some speed.
Yeah, that guy's got legit speed at 6'2".
He does. He's got really good speed, and he's the type of guy that you hope they can keep at Vanderbilt because you've seen a lot of these Barton Simmons type of recruits, and he gets them real early, and they might be unrated or a 2-star, but they elevate, and then schools start to realize that. So, but Will, right now the pitch is come be a part of the rebuild and come be that building block of Vanderbilt football. So I think the pitch is these guys can start something. So we'll see. We'll get back into the recruiting class after this Dansby Swanson, Kyle Wright world champs talk. And obviously we got to touch on this. I mean, these guys, playing at Vandy, and I think we knew Dansby Swanson with the Braves was going to have a chance to win the world title like he did. But without Dansby and Kyle Wright, I don't want to say they wouldn't win it, but they were a huge part of that Game 4 victory. And Kyle Wright to step in after being in the minors all year, and they elevate him to the squad right before, and he's able to pitch. And that says a lot about their character. So, well, it's pretty cool, pretty awesome seeing Dansby and Kyle actually be able to rep Vanderbilt and end up winning a world title.
On this when they were one game away, and it was pretty awesome to see Dansby perform the way he did, as well as getting that final out there. But
yeah,
I'll actually help you transition here, Billy, back into the recruiting class whenever you want to, because I have a pretty interesting thought on kind of the strategy and kind of succinctly that I've kind of thought about and discussed it with some people that are not Vanderbilt fans, that I think I finally got a succinct way to say that I see what Clark Lea says when, in quotes, he says a 10-year plan. So,
yes, the 10-year plan.
Seeing the man, it's awesome to see those guys get rings, and especially Wright, who fell just a little bit short in college. So finally to see him reach that top pedestal was great to see.
Yeah, and I mean the Braves, we're biased. We're both Braves fans here, but it's nothing better than seeing Dansby Swanson, Atlanta kid, Vanderbilt bred, and he's able to make that final out, and nobody else deserved it more than him. So again, congrats to Swanson and Wright. Their world champs parade going on today down in Atlanta, probably pretty crazy. But Will, let's do that transition. The 10-year plan. We're making it. I think we're getting a clearer picture of what this plan entails. And I think we learned it pretty quick after ETSU. This will be a 10-year plan of success. Now, I'm not going to say in 10 years, they'll finally get to 6 wins. That's not what we're talking about. But I think what Clark Lea is pointing to is in 10 years, we will fully realize the vision and goal and what they want to accomplish there. And so, Will, before you get into some of these quotes and the deep investigation here that you've done, which credit to you, you've done a good job on it. But Marcus Bradley started off the decommit trail, and then you had Miguel Mitchell also on Monday I think it was either Monday or Tuesday decommit, but you've had 3 this week. But you've also had Davion Walker who committed, and then you also had Grayson Morgan who committed. So, the pendulum is swinging kind of back and forth. I think it's still in that decommit direction. Now, if Clark Lea is able to get another one, that might bring it back to the middle. But Will, some of these quotes are really interesting. And I really thought it was interesting to hear from Marcus Bradley about how he still said Clark Lea was building something. He liked what he built, but he just didn't simply fit in. I think that's what you were getting at.
Yeah. And I do want to take a step back here, and what we always talk about what Tim Corbin has done. And you always say Tim Corbin's just a force of nature and how he's done it. And that is 80-90% of it, is you just have Tim Corbin, the right circumstances, things worked out, and he's the right person to lead that program, bought in and then you got buy-in from the administration, buy-in from the fan base, boom, you're where they are, with guys winning championships, and you have guys all spread throughout the major leagues and playing throughout the playoffs and big names. And when we talked with Clark Lea and talked with Barton Simmons, a lot of what they mentioned on their recruiting ideas was NFL talent. They just kept repeating NFL body types, body sizes, body types. And when you really start to go back and take a look, what Clark Lea is really trying to do is emulate, and the block V, I don't think it's direct emulation or exactly what they're doing, but he's trying to emulate what Tim Corbin did.
Yes.
And when you really go back to the roots of it, what Tim Corbin did wasn't very complicated. Is it very difficult? Absolutely. In part with the social media team that Vanderbilt put together, and they jumped on the Instagram bandwagon early, and they were the first in college baseball to utilize that so well. They had transformative players come into that program and represent Vanderbilt at the college level, and then continue to represent and rep them in the pros. And those guys were Pedro Alvarez and David Price. And those are the ones that initially came in and changed the face of Vanderbilt baseball. Then they're in the pros continuing to rep Vanderbilt. And then you see that. Then you have guys like Dansby Swanson come in, and boom, he does the same thing. Big face in the MLB. That's the best recruiting in the world.
Can do.
There's no other better recruiting platform. Winning a national championship doesn't get guys in as much as having guys in the pros. And obviously those things go hand in hand. And I'm not saying that Vanderbilt football is ever going to reach what Tim Corbin has done, because obviously it's a much more crowded playing field. But what they're trying to do is, right now Vanderbilt has a real lack of contributing NFL players on Sundays. And they used to have a lot when they had Cutler, Moore, Bennett, Chris Williams.
The entire Chicago Bears team.
Right now you pretty much have, I just named off a bunch of Bears, but right now you pretty much have Hayward, and
Zach Cunningham,
and
yeah,
and a
Stephen
little bit
Weatherly
of
too.
Kari Blossingame. But I'm saying guys that are really in your
Right,
face
right.
about it. They don't really have that right now, and they had stretches of it in the past, and you kind of saw it kind of filter off whenever a lot of Franklin's guys didn't work out at that next level. You had Zach Stacy leading the league in rushing, and then that fell off. And that's when recruiting took the huge dip. So they're trying to build back up that NFL talent, which A, is going to win you games if you can produce NFL talent, but B, it also continues that wheel spinning of bringing in more and more NFL talent. But going to Bradley and that transfer, because I think that was a little bit shocking to both of us. We were very excited. I reached out to him. We texted back and forth a little bit. I'm not going to give any of his direct quotes. I didn't clear that with him. We didn't text a lot, but basically he didn't say anything bad about Clark Lea. Everything he said was he loved what Clark was building. He loved what they were building there. He just had trouble maneuvering through the new standards, which is what we kept hearing. Obviously, this is a bottled up answer from Marcus, but the fact that he was transferring out and didn't just immediately rip into the staff says a little bit of something to me. Obviously, he does have major issues with the staff or he wouldn't be transferring. So a lot of that is, through that lens. But do keep in mind that there are plenty of guys that once they transfer, they would have been talking to me and just blasted this coaching staff. And that's certainly not what happened. So there are going to be guys decommit, and I do want to get your thoughts on these decommits at defensive back before I get in here. But I'm running out of breath.
That was a 4 minutes succession there. I like it, but I really do think, Will, you talked about pillars of a recruiting class. Pedro Alvarez, David Price, guys like that. I think Langston Patterson and Grayson Morgan can be those guys. Now, I'm not saying these guys are going to be all SEC players, first-round draft picks. I'm saying Clark Lea has gotten these two in-state guys. I think they can begin to be that building block. Now, with these decommits, Marcus Bradley, the transfer, I think that'll make an impact. He's a talented player. He's one of the more talented guys in that class. It's going to be a hit. And obviously those three decommits were big hits. And BJ Diakite, I think maybe was one of the bigger ones. A Georgia kid. He may end up with Zach Pyron, another Vandy target at Georgia Tech. So I think, Will, they took just a massive hit this week. Like that, we can't ignore that. And the vibes were low. Morale was very low, through the first half of this week. But I think what you learned from this staff is they're strategic. They're very strategic. They're always working as you have to do in recruiting season. And Barton Simmons is unreal. Like what he's doing right now is transforming the game of college football recruiting. I think you're going to see even more of those 24/7 sports expert type guys get those jobs because Barton Simmons was able to. And you're seeing like Davion Walker is a perfect example. Now, I think he's a guy. I'm not going to say he's going to decommit. But Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, he's a kid. He's one of the better players in the state of Alabama. Just not many people know it. Barton Simmons knew that. He grabbed him and he told Clark Lea, and now he's a Vanderbilt Commodore. I'm not saying this guy is going to leave and commit to Alabama, but I just think that is common, and I think that the potential of that to happen more is still there. So, Will, with these decommits, we talk about not being the end of the world. Obviously, it's not. If this had snowballed to 8 guys, I think, this week was tough, obviously. But I still think with Barton Simmons and what he's been able to do, he's going to continue finding these guys. And as long as they can develop them, I think you'll see that plan come to fruition. Now, you still got to get the guys. Like that's the whole of the story of going out there and convincing them to come to Vanderbilt. But I still think with a lot of those decommits, it's like, hey, Barton Simmons, good job. But, these guys are going to find – bigger schools going to find these guys because of your work. So I guess that's more of what the line of thinking I'm going with.
Yeah, it's very interesting to look at this class and look what they've done and look just how different that they view recruiting than the previous staff and even
totally
staffs
different.
Before them. It's you can see clear patterns. And the one thing I want to say is obviously decommitting is never a good sign. And they had 2 guys from that secondary decommit and they had BJ Diakite decommit. So I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm not saying this is why they did it, but I'm saying objectively, number one key is these guys looked at the program and said, this is not a good football team. It's going to be a struggle to win here. Number 2, the big sell is when you go into Vanderbilt and the SEC right now is you are going to get the opportunity to play early. And 2 of these guys were corners. So keep in mind, they're looking at a young secondary right here with Mahoney and Judy Lawley with 2 and 3 years left. and saying the only good part of this team right now, and I'm not even saying good, but they lead the SEC in picks.
Mm-hmm.
And you're sitting there saying this secondary is improving. They already have some young guys on the roster. I'm going to go to a bad football team to the only position that really I'm not going to get an immediate chance to start. And I think Diakite said the same thing because, you know, who he reminds me of a lot? Freshman running back Patrick Smith. So I'm not saying that contributes to it a lot, but I'm saying these guys in particular probably looked at who is on that roster. Vanderbilt's not in a good place. They were probably wavy because of initially what has happened on the field. But then they look at that roster and say, okay, where is there young talent in front of me that could potentially prevent me from playing?
Right.
And that's obviously right there. But when you look, and I just wanted to get that out there. I don't know if that's what happened. That's speculation, of course.
Right. Who knows where the motives are for a lot of these guys. And I think, Will, the bottom line is a lot of these in-state players, I think, are the ones that are going to stick with Clark Lea and the staff. Like, you haven't seen a flinch from Langston Patterson. After the ETSU loss, you saw him tweet anchor down. Like, you know, there are guys that are committed to this staff, but there's going to be some
misses there, Billy.
What about now?
Got you now, but you froze up.
Okay. A little bit. I'll just keep going.
All right.
You know, there's going to be misses, and you know there will, just like every recruiting class, especially in today's day and age, with even the transfer portal and you know Marcus Bradley and those type of guys. But what you're seeing in this class, Will, is you're going to have a split, like we've seen with the team. You're going to have a split where guys are going to just come to the conclusion and say, hey, I don't want to be a part of this program anymore. But the other side is, no matter what happens, I'm sticking with this team. So you're seeing it with the team. And you're seeing it in the recruiting class. Now, I think the point Clark Lea wants to get to is, I mean, it's common sense, but no
pretty simple answer.
You know, and
lost you again, Billy. I think your internet's cutting in and out.
Damn. Yeah, I think it is. Actually.
Lost you again about halfway through there. Because I'm fine on my end.
Okay.
That I want to say, and then.
Okay, what you got me now?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. I think I finished. It'll come through on my end, so I can edit that. But if you just want to respond to, you know, whatever you're going to say after that.
I don't know what you finished up with.
Okay. All right. I'll finish and then go into you.
I didn't hear like the last 20 seconds of what you said.
Okay.
So I'll just blind.
Yeah. This internet is popping back up again. Let me try to fix this. My laptop has been an absolute.
Yeah, I've been really digging in. The thing that I'm gonna really, once we hit the off season and we can focus on it, that thing I'm talking about with what they're trying to do is pretty fascinating. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty up in the stars whenever I figured it out. But it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'll finish. I'll lead you into that Clark Lea quote, and then we'll get to Noah and Shelby. Or Noah and Lee.
All right, I do want to say one thing about, like, I'll read that quote and then I have one thing to go through with the class, which I was talking about with the pattern that we kind of got off on. Let's go.
All right, here we go. But yeah, you know, we talk about splits all the time. We talked about it with what's happening in the regular season right now with this team in this locker room. The recruiting split is just as prevalent right now. So the goal right now for Clark, Will, is narrowing that line, making that smaller, and having limited guys, you know, on the fence there. So, you know, the issue right now for Clark, Will, is fixing that split both in the locker room and on the recruiting trail. And once he does that, I think you'll see the fruits of his labor. But, you know, like we talked about all the time, it's going to take a while.
Yeah. And Clark had some good comments after, and it was in an article from Robbie Weinstein on 24/7. I want to give him credit. This is where I got the quote from. But he said, in the end, in recruiting, this is all – no, I skipped a part. Here we go. Here's the beginning of the quote. It's a pretty long quote, so I'm only going to read a portion of it. But Clark Lea on the decommit said, in quote, "The first part of the message is, and for all the players that have committed to us and we recruit more players in this class, this is where we are, and it's not where we're headed," Lee said. End quote again. "This is year one and team one, and there are a lot of things that go into laying a foundation in a program. We're not taking any shortcuts. There's no cheat code for success here. We have to go the long, hard way." And right there is, obviously, if you're coming into Vanderbilt at this point in the SEC with the current state of this program, you have a chip on your shoulder and you have a me against us against the world mentality. And I think that's where guys that they've had in the past have been that type of player with the chip on their shoulder that have been successful.
I think
I think the perfect exemplifying factor in that and player is Keyshawn Vaughn. And he was not under Clark Lea, but that dude played. He thought he had been passed up by bigger programs and should have gone somewhere bigger initially. And then obviously got his playing time taken due to some injuries. And he played with that dog, that chip.
Yes.
And I think that's really what they're looking for. But they're also looking at one thing that is so different in a different mindset than Mason is body types. And Mason looked at body types. He was looking for long, rangy, athletic guys. He was looking for big, freak athlete receivers. You see that in Chris Pierce. You see that in guys like Will Shepard that are in here, that are these long 6'3", 6'4", guys that look like Julio Jones and Michael Thomas. And what you see Clark Lea doing is recognizing Vanderbilt's not going to get those consistently, at least right now. So you need a plan that Vanderbilt can go out and execute, kind of like what I talk about with game plans on the field. You need the same thing in recruiting. You have to have a recruiting plan for Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt. It can't be like anywhere else. And what they're doing, you can clearly see, is they are valuing guys that are a little bit underdeveloped on the offensive and defensive lines and the linebackers and tight ends, and are more worried about size because they think in 6'6", 6'5", 6'4", already pretty big build, and they're like, we can add a little bit of weight to them and we can work with them and develop them. And if they are able to put in the work and develop, these can be NFL guys. They have the raw athleticism. Flip side, that is what is so valued at receiver and running back, is that raw athleticism, as opposed to the kind of polished at the end, which is what's valued on the offensive and defensive lines and linebackers. And they are looking at these guys that have that polished route running, that quick burst ability already at the receiver position for the most part, that are undersized. So they're getting passed up, and that's why they have a lower rating. And you can see, obviously, they want probably one larger sized receiver and one kind of larger running back, and everybody else they want kind of scat back speed to kind of fit into the system. And those are achievable. Those are attainable recruits, because these other programs can pick and choose and say, we only want the 6'3", 6'2" receiver with that. And Vanderbilt's just not going to be able to get those. And so seeing that and seeing kind of the vision that they have and actually seeing it play out a little bit has boosted my confidence in the future. I don't want to say that I'm bought back in completely, but it at least gives me kind of a vision forward for them.
It's there, it's visible. The plan is visible. Now it's a whole nother, challenge of trying to go out there and achieve it. But I'm totally with you, Will. Barton Simmons and this recruiting staff, what they've been doing, the eye test is very visible. They have taken the eye test to a whole nother level of bringing the guy in on campus or going out to the high school campus and looking at the guy and saying, hey, and seeing the film, we can build you into a successful Vanderbilt football player. And it's kind of that, create a player type mode where they have their guy, and 4 years down the road, they have a vision of what they want that guy to look like. I think a lot of these transformations are going to be incredible. Brendan Horgan and the weight training staff, I think, have done a great job. So I think you could see some nice transformations with guys like Langston Patterson and Grayson Morgan and everybody in the staff. Now, like I said, all of this takes time. And so I think that's the bottom line, where I think 3-4 years down the road, this 2022 class is going to be that starting point, that foundation, and they're going to show you that it takes work. And I also think that we are not also, and whenever we do kind of a season recap, something I want to get into is the class that is getting lost in a lot of this framework is that entire, outside of Marcus Bradley now, that entire class of 2021 that has stayed alongside Clark Lea outside of Bradley. And there are a lot of interesting guys because they're in the same boat. They wouldn't have been on the field no matter pretty much who is coach. It's going to be interesting. So it's going to be the 2021 and 2022 classes in 2-3 years are going to decide if Clark Lea is still the head coach. And those two classes are going to be the ones that determine. Yeah, I can't wait to see which guys stay and which guys go, because Marcus Bradley, you got to believe that there's some guys that are with him and may end up transferring, but there's also some guys that may end up staying. So that's going to be really intriguing to watch. But Will, I told you at the beginning, we got pretty much a quick episode here, but we've got a nice interview. I do want to say we talked about all of these rankings though, Billy, before we get into the Noah Shelby, and we talked about all these rankings and their national rankings. But who has been on the field and contributed this year more than anyone else on this list? Who is the bottom ranked recruit in the entire class last season of 2021, and that's Patrick Smith. Exactly. So I just want to say that while obviously we care about the star ratings, we care about the ratings, they overarchingly mean a lot as far as the entire class is concerned.
there are plenty of guys that we're probably not even discussing right now that in 2 years are going to be major contributors, because I think Patrick Smith, to us, obviously, was kind of just a little afterthought in this class, and he's come in and made an immediate impact on that campus. So it's always fun to follow these classes and see where the guys end up.
Yeah, and it tells you about what they value and the guys that they value and who they bring in, and rankings really don't matter. We talk about Vandy's not going to get the 5-star, 4-star guys. They're mostly 3 and 2 stars, and it's hard to scout some of those guys sometimes. So it'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting to see how this class ends up shaking out, and obviously the guys from 2021. So we'll see how that goes. But coming up, Noah Shelby and Lee Dort. We've been trying to secure these two guys. They were the first 2 4-stars to commit in the 2022 class, and we were able to get them on thanks to Derek Shelby and their authoritative figure there. That's Noah's dad. They've brought Lee Dort into their family, and just a really cool story about how they met with each other and playing with Colin Smith, a guy that they were able to bring over to Vandy, plus Jerry Stackhouse, who we give him credit too. But it's just a cool story, and I think Vandy fans should be excited about Noah Shelby, Lee Dort, and Colin Smith, and heck, Malik Dia too, because that class, I think this season is the last year in basketball at Memorial Gym that they may not be making the tournament, because I think next season they've got a real shot at elevating to that top half of the SEC. So, Will, it was awesome to be able to talk to these guys, and I think we've got some interesting personalities coming into West End with these two guys.
Yeah, I think Lee Dort probably is more of you could tell he's not the big talker of between Noah Shelby and him. He's definitely the one that are inside 6'9" center. You got Noah Shelby, the point guard there. Colin Smith was a great interview. You're seeing this team take shape with some of the younger talent that they have there. And I'm not pushing back this year, even though Rodney Chapman has already been bitten by the ghost of Kevin Stallings in his meniscus. It'll be out 4 to 6 weeks. Liam Robbins not playing in week 1 due to that lingering injury issue. I'm telling you, that's why I didn't get excited. I still think
will the curse ever end? Will the curse ever end?
I think Dort and Shelby and Colin Smith and Malik Dia will be the end of the curse, beginning of the new. But this team, I don't want to just skip past this year, because there's one guy. We'll get way more into this whenever we do our preview that we'll be dropping in a few days. But Scottie Pippen Jr., as long as he is healthy, Vanderbilt can win every single game that they step on the court, because they will, in my opinion, doesn't matter what the NBA draft board, they will have the best player on the court on every single,
at all times,
every single game, every single time. They will have the best player between both teams. And when Scottie Pippen is playing, out of the 10 players on the court, he will be the best one. And so as long as he stays healthy, do not count out this team. And I think they could still surprise some people moving up, because between him and the other guys that are on that roster that we'll dig into, I think that they could make some waves.
Well, I'll be really interested to see the attendance inside Memorial Gym this season. And there's one reason why. I didn't want to get into it. I really didn't. And I think most fans who listen to this podcast, they know exactly what our opinions are of this. But why? I really have nothing. I don't have anything else to say at this point.
You want to talk about, you get me really fired up. You want to get me going.
I want to get you going.
That we talk about follow the science. Vanderbilt likes to shove in all of our faces and basically calling us stupid. Anyone that disagrees with it, that we're not following the science. We're just dumb idiots, not listening to anything. Well, I don't need to follow the science, because it's funny enough. In mid-November, I believe November 13th,
the Nashville Predators.
Bridgestone Arena is lifting their requirement to be either tested 72 hours before with a negative test or antibody test, or be vaccinated. They're lifting that requirement.
And you know why?
Consultation with the Vanderbilt University Medical Center. It is unreal how stupid this is, and how Vanderbilt can't see how stupid it makes them look. To literally be the hospital associated with the university is recommending it to Bridgestone Arena, and that's why they're lifting the ban at the same time that you release this, that you are now going to be requiring fans, if they come to Memorial Gym for Vanderbilt basketball games, to be either have a negative COVID test or be vaccinated or antibody test. Right before people have already bought their season tickets. I had already been looking at tickets. I could go either way. I don't care. But Jesus Christ, can anybody use their brains in that athletic department or at that university and see the double standard and dichotomy here that makes no sense and it's illogical. Sorry, Billy, you got me.
No, well, I had to. I had to throw some gasoline on the fire because this is just an awful decision. There's no way around it. And I hate doing it, but I wanted to get some fire into this podcast here before we get into Noah, Shelby, and Lee Dort. Now, that's not to say we aren't still excited. I'm going to be watching from down here in Florida. I hope to go to a game. I guess I'll have to get a negative COVID test, but it's going to be interesting.
They examine those really, really closely, Commodore fans. They stare them down, and I'm being sarcastic if you can't tell, so take that as you will.
I can't wait to see the attendance numbers inside Memorial Gym this season. And we love this university. We really do. We love this athletic department. We love the excitement coming from Vanderbilt basketball. But as much as we love this school, we will say things like this, and it's for the good of the school.
Vanderbilt University, for how little fan support they have and how little success they have had recently and in the past historically, makes it really damn hard to be a fan. And they do everything they can to push away the fan base that they currently have. And it's pretty amazing to see it with Sarah Fuller thing last year, with this that they've done this year, that they are shoving away the few of us that are here. And it's like what Bruno said when he was talking about how they don't get priority scheduling. They can't have a car. He's like, we're on the same team, guys. Why are you working against us? We want the same thing. We're on the same side.
Exactly. It's going to be, I just had to get it out there. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. You'll be there, but damn, they make it hard. All right, here we go though. Let's get some sunshine back into this episode. Noah, Shelby, and Lee Dort coming right up here on the Door Report, powered by Alaco Fine Wood Floors. Welcome back into the Door Report alongside Will Byram. I'm Billy Derrick, and we've got a couple guests on that Vandy fans may recognize. We got Noah, Shelby, and Lee Dort, the two highest rated recruits in Vanderbilt's class. Of course, Colin Smith just joined the 2022 recruiting class as well. Lee Dort, a 6'9", 240-pound center, of course, out of Addison, Texas, there at Green Hills School. Noah Shelby also attending Green Hills School there. They've both got one more year. Shelby's 6'2", 175-pound point guard. Guys, thanks for taking the time. How y'all doing tonight?
Good.
Doing pretty good.
Let's start with an interesting question. We asked this to Colin, and we want to start things off. Of course, we're gonna have some fun here, but I want to ask you guys straight up about your commitment to Vanderbilt and what that meant for you guys, and why exactly you guys did it, and what intrigued you about Coach Stackhouse and Vanderbilt, and why you guys ended up committing.
I'll go first. So
I
think my favorite part about Vanderbilt was the camaraderie with the coaches, as well as the system that they run. They run a pro-style system that I think a lot of people can benefit from. So I think it worked well for my game, for sure, as a point guard, being able to play a pro-style system with all that pick-and-roll offense. Mm-hmm. And also Coach Stack, great relationship with Coach Stack, and how he's down to earth and gets the best out of his players as well.
Lee, what about you?
Oh, I think for me, me and Noah, we've been playing a long time. We got pretty good chemistry. So I feel like going there with Noah is a good idea, to play with Noah and really nice chemistry over there. And the coaches over there are gonna more develop me in my game, make me more ready for whatever is it, for the next level, whatever is it. So I feel like it's pretty good for me over there.
Yeah. So you guys committed without, and correct me if I'm wrong here, committed before you'd actually visited Vanderbilt's campus, right? Because of COVID, you weren't able to actually visit, and committed before that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, actually, we visited. It was an official visit on freshman year.
Okay, but it had been a little bit since you guys had been in Nashville. So what I'm kind of getting to is you guys committed, obviously, because, and you mentioned it here, that your relationship with the coaches and the system that they run. But what were your guys' opinions when you actually did get a chance to come down to Nashville? What were your thoughts on the city and the campus and the university?
For me, I thought it was even better than I expected, getting to see all the campus and how everything works. I thought it was a little eye-opening. I knew it was going to be great, but I didn't know it was going to be as great as it was. I thought I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think when I went there for my freshman year, and when I went there after my commitment, it's two different things. There's a lot of changes, and like the city, and like I kind of like see the city more and like the weather, everything. It's like it's pretty nice over there. So yeah.
I want to ask you guys. I know you just talked about your commitment here, but when did you guys meet? I know you guys go back a while, and you guys have been playing basketball together. But for Vanderbilt fans that don't quite know y'all's relationship and how much that has impacted y'all's life and y'all's career, so give us a little information about how you guys met and why you guys are so close.
You got it, Lee.
Good.
Somebody.
Who wants to take that one?
You can take your time on it.
Okay, I'll go. We met freshman year. We played AAU together all through high school. So our first time playing together was our freshman year, summer going into my sophomore year. And we played.
Colin Smith was there too.
What'd you say, Lee?
Colin Smith was there on this team.
Yeah, and Colin was on our team as well.
Oh, okay.
Team. So we were all on the same team. So we've known each other for a long time. And me and Lee have a great chemistry on the court because we work out together almost every day. We played together for 3 years. So we have a great relationship off the court too and on the court. We play video games, all that stuff. So we've known each other for a long time. So we got good chemistry.
Sorry, I had a train coming by there that's near my house. So once again, it interrupted, I think, 60-70% of our podcast at this point. Yeah. But we got to loosen it up here a little bit, guys. So I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Colin Smith that got a smile across his face. But you guys watch the NBA, I'm going to assume. NBA fans. So Noah, we'll start with you, and then Lee, you can go after he goes. And you can be as cocky as you want to be, as humble as you want to be. What NBA player would you say that your game is the closest to and you kind of emulate the most?
I think it's interesting for me because I think some people have said in the past, I've said Trae Young a little bit, but I think my game fits more like CJ McCollum after watching him play a lot. How he can get to his spots and he can score the ball from all 3 levels and he can shoot the ball from deep. And he can play on and off the ball too. So I think my game resembles CJ McCollum a lot.
I like that one. I like that answer. Colin Smith gave us Paul George. So we got CJ McCollum, Paul George play styles. What about you, Lee? Who do you choose?
I think like on my game, like kind of like Embiid, like the footwork, everything like dominate on the paint, like both sides on offense and on defense. And like I feel like my game is like kind of like Embiid, like yeah.
And CJ McCollum, Paul George, and Joel Embiid. I like it. I like what we're going with here, guys. I want to go to how with Colin Smith. We haven't talked about him yet, and he's a guy that we asked him about you guys, and he said y'all helped out in his recruitment a lot to Vanderbilt. So, Colin Smith, I know you guys played with him. You've played with him. I don't know if it was for a season or two or in the summer ball or whatever, but where does y'all's relationship go back to with Colin, and how much work did y'all have to put in to get Colin? Because a lot of times you see players doing, coaches do the recruiting work, but players have some power too in recruiting maybe some of their friends to come to different schools. So I guess, Noah, we'll start with you about y'all's relationship with Colin and where that starts.
Yeah, I've known Colin for a long time, going back to like middle school, but I didn't get to really know him as like a friend until our freshman year because I went to St. Mark's with him my freshman year and sophomore year, and we played in the same summer team freshman year. So I have a good relationship with Colin. We play video games like every night, so I talk to him all the time. So when we committed to Vanderbilt and Colin was still deciding, thinking about where he was going, I was like all the time I was talking to him like Vanderbilt, like this is a good spot for you. So it worked out in the end, but I definitely put some work in.
Love it. Lee, you had some help with Colin, didn't you too?
So, I mostly talk with him because they be playing video game a lot. So, but like me, what I think, like when we went to the official visit, we went there like he was there at the same time. So I feel like the way he see us and like we talking like about like how we're gonna be like next year. So I think that's gonna like excite him more like to become play for us because we've been playing together before, like, and he knows like how I play, he know how I play. So he feel like, oh, so I can play with this guy. So this like kind of a good place for me.
Yeah, we're excited. We can't wait to get Colin and you guys up here. But I want to talk about your future coach at Vandy and Coach Stackhouse. And I know you guys still have a season to go to with your high school career. But with Coach Stackhouse, a lot of times, we hear about coaches and their experience. But he's with Coach Stackhouse. He has had to learn on the fly his first couple of years being a college basketball coach. So for you guys being recruited by Stack, what jumped out to you about him, and what about Coach Stackhouse made you think, okay, we can have success at Vandy?
Yeah, for me, it was just the track record that he has. He's been in the league. He was in the league for decades. Coached everywhere, coached G League, and he's also been able to. He's proven to develop point guards. Also, Darius Garland and Saban Lee. So guys like that have come before me, I know he's been able to develop them and turn them into pros. So for me, I was just looking at the track record and what's already been done. So it was an easy decision for me to go to Vanderbilt for me.
Lee, how about you? What's your favorite part about Stack?
Yeah, like I said, like he's been playing in the league for like 18 years, so and like he's kind of played like 2 or 3. So I feel like for me, like I'm not gonna play like I'm not gonna say like I'm a 5 really, but I'm 6'9" is probably not a 4, a 3 something. So I feel like being kind of like being a same position like him, you're gonna be like help me out like more, so more develop on my game, like everything, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I think.
So both of you guys, we'll bring it back. We're talking about your future. You guys still have a whole senior season to play here as teammates. So tell us, let's take a step back here. When does y'all's season start, and when, and kind of give us some expectations that you guys have for your performance this year on both of your senior years?
Yeah, our season, our first official game is next Friday on the 12th. So that's our first official game. We have scrimmages on Saturday this weekend. We've been practicing a couple of weeks. We feel good about our team. I think we're good enough to win our conference and then win our state championship. So I think we're going to be really good. And personal goals for me, I want to show that I can distribute the ball as well as score the ball, do both, and to continue to hit my shots and all those things that people already know I can do.
Have there been any backdoor alley-oop plays sent over there to you and
sure
from you to Dort? You know, I don't want to reveal any secrets for the game coming up on the 12th, but
you got to be confident. You got to be confident lobbing it up to Lee, right? He's tall enough. You can throw it wherever you want, and Lee's going to go get it.
Yeah, like it's like we used to that, so it's not the first one.
Right. What about Colin? Who is Lee getting up there higher, or is Colin elevating a little bit more? It's too close to call.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen Colin jump in a while, so I'm gonna go with Lee. But I know Colin's athletic too. Colin has a burst. I think it's underrated, his burst of speed. I think it's underrated.
There you go. Well, we can't wait to see you guys playing at Memorial Gym. But I want to ask you guys about the world of college basketball, but also we'll get to that, but more about the fans. And fans are starting to come back to college basketball arenas. And I'm sure you guys are excited to get inside Memorial Gym. And I know you guys have been there before. What did you like about that gym? And what obviously it's really different. It's totally different. We love it for what it is. So what do you guys like about that gym? And what do you want to tell Vanderbilt fans about y'all's future at Vanderbilt? Because, they're as excited as ever to get you two guys and Colin on campus. So I guess Lee, let's go with you. Let's go with you first here. What's your favorite part?
I mean, like when you look at the code, like the code is unique. Like first of all, we got the bench on the baseline, and we got the code like kind of more than the stand down here. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of some unique stuff like for on the code. So and like as much the fan are excited, he's as much excited too. So I wanna play in front of him like a packed gym. So I can so make him the show. So like make him enjoy it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Lee, you're pretty pumped to get inside Memorial Gym too?
Or
Noah. Sorry, I said Lee. Noah, what about you?
Oh yeah, I'm excited too. I think it's Memorial Gym. I think it's fitting for the city of Nashville because Nashville's kind of like a music city, performing city, and the court's elevated, so it's kind of like a stage. So I think it's unique and it's fitting. And I know that when that place gets filled up, it's going to get really loud. The echoes in there. So I think when we start winning and we start turning things around, it's going to be really nice for us.
Hopefully it'll be back sooner rather than later, right, Will?
Yeah, hopefully so. But guys, I want to ask one more thing here. So I think a lot of people have seen your highlights, hoop mixtapes, whatever videos that you put out on Instagram. But I kind of want to hear both of you, and we'll start with Lee here since Noah's taken over for a lot of these first questions. So we're going to put you on the spot again, Lee. What is one strength of your game? If you had to point to one thing that is the number one strength, what would you put that for, Lee? And then Noah, you can go after him.
One thing, I guess
It's a tough one.
I'll go for rebounds. Like I'll go for rebounds. So like in a game, like I get like over 15 rebounds each game. So I guess I can take this one.
Love it.
What do you got over there, Noah? One key strength to your game, and we'll go a weakness as well that you're looking to improve this senior year.
Strength, I'll definitely go with my shooting ability for sure.
Love that.
I think I can. I would put my shooting ability up against anybody in my class nationally. I think shooting is my calling card, who I've been known to do for a long time. And weaknesses, I would say, I'll probably just say more explosiveness at the rim. Not speed per se, but explosiveness at the rim, like finishing above the rim, stuff like that.
I love it. Well, guys, we appreciate your time. I got one more to close it out. Obviously, there will be fans inside Memorial Gym this season, unlike last season. Do you guys know if you'll be planning on coming to any home games this season? And, obviously you guys will be in season. But do you know yet if you guys will be making any visits over to Memorial Gym this season?
Yeah, we're trying to get up there at the end of conference play. I think when they play A&M, I think we're trying to go up there and play, see them when they play at A&M on a Saturday.
Beat your hometown Texas school.
Yeah.
Lee, hopefully you guys will be there together, right? Maybe get Colin up there too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can't wait for you guys to get up here, and obviously good luck with your high school season over at Green Hill, and we can't wait to see you guys. So thanks for coming on, and enjoy your night, and have a good season, boys.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.